And hence when people actually graduate from these programs, तो they are lost कि ये जो concept सीखे हैं उनको मैं real world में apply कैसे करूँ. And hence we believe that SST or Scalar School of Technology is going to disrupt or at least set a new template for bachelor's education. Our highest salary has been about 3.5 CR. Our average salary has been about 21 lakhs.
Did you know that almost 80% of B.Tech graduates in India are unemployable? Hi everyone, I'm Ishan Sharma, and with me today I have a very special guest, Anshuman from Scalar, who is building Scalar School of Technology, which is on a mission to redefine education specifically in the technological domain. Hi Anshuman, how are you doing there? And please introduce yourself to the audience who's watching this video right now.
Firstly, thank you Ishan for inviting me. Very, very glad to be here. Quick introduction about me. My name is Anshuman. I am one of the founders here at Scalar. My journey is that I graduated from IIIT Hyderabad back in 2010, so I'm kind of old. And however, when I was in college, I did represent India twice in ICPC World Finals, which is supposed to be like the Olympics of programming. Post that, my first job was at Facebook, where again, I was very fortunate. I grew really fast, led the team that built Facebook Messenger. So if there are people here who have used Messenger in the past, then you're running a lot of my code when using Messenger. Post that, I moved to the Facebook London office, where we hired the first 100 engineers for the office. So we set up that office brand new. And for the last 9 years or so, I've been trying to solve the technical education problem in India. First with InterviewBit, which is a product that helps people prepare for interviews. And then now with Scalar, which is sort of like an online Stanford equivalent, trying to change people's career trajectories in a duration of a year. And now with Scalar School of Technology, where we're trying to disrupt how universities work, or at least like set a new template for how bachelor's education should be.
I'm sure there is a lot to unpack here, and the next 30 minutes is going to be super valuable for the audience. But let's take a step back and try to understand what is the problem with tech education in India. Like, why is it broken?
Right. Let me first start by the study that you were referring to. So that study is actually done by Aspiring Minds. That study says that 80% of the graduates are unemployable. There are other studies that actually quote a much higher number as well. But actually what is broken is that we have some good colleges in our ecosystem, but at the same time, there's a big list of colleges that are really, really bad. I, for example, have experienced that personally. I have two younger brothers who are also engineers. And I remember incidences where the college professors would tell the kids that you have to memorize this code. कि एग्जाम में पैलिंड्रोम वाला कोड आएगा, रट लेना, जाके वहां लिख देना, सो पास हो जाओगे. एंड इफ समबडी इज टेलिंग यू टू मेमोराइज कोड, दैट्स रियली ब्रोकन. इट्स लाइक समबडी टेलिंग यू कुछ दिक्कत है. करेक्ट. एंड इन जनरल जो हमारे अच्छे कॉलेजेस भी हैं, लाइक पीपल लाइक कॉलेजेस दैट आर वेरी वेरी प्रेस्टिजियस, इवन देयर टुडे द लर्निंग इज actually oriented towards clearing exams. There's a lot of theory that you're taught, which is important, very important, because you have to learn things in depth. But there is no explanation of why, कि मैं सीख क्यों रहा हूँ. और उसका रिजल्ट क्या होता है कि नेक्स्ट सेमेस्टर तक आप भूल जाते हो जो पिछले सेमेस्टर में पढ़ा था. आपको जो चीज़ें सिखाई जाती हैं वो ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम है, नेटवर्क है, डेटाबेसेस है. इट्स नेवर टॉट विद द एप्लीकेशन इन माइंड. एंड हेंस व्हेन पीपल एक्चुअली ग्रेजुएट फ्रॉम दीज प्रोग्राम्स, तो दे आर लॉस्ट कि ये जो कॉन्सेप्ट सीखे हैं उनको मैं रियल वर्ल्ड में अप्लाई कैसे करूँ. सो टुडे द ट्रांसलेशन ऑफ व्हाट वी आर टॉट इन डेप्थ इन कॉलेज टू रियल वर्ल्ड एप्लीकेशन इन द वर्ल्ड, दैट इज कम्प्लीटली मिसिंग. And then there are some people who are exceptional, who are still able to go and do well in their life, but they do it despite their college instead of because of their college.
Right. No, I remember when I used to interact with my fourth year students in my college, they were exceptional at solving commutative coding problems, but didn't know how to make a simple full stack website. Right. And that was amazing. That was just crazy for me to imagine. Like, okay, you can solve some problem, but you cannot build software. So I used to always look at that. But yeah, let's talk about Scalar School of Technology and how are you thinking of tackling that situation?
Let me first start by introducing Scalar School of Technology. So Scalar School of Technology is a 4-year undergraduate residential program, which is based out in the heart of Silicon Valley in India, which is Bangalore. We have a beautiful campus in Electronic City. And the way it is differentiated is that, there is equal amount of focus on theory and application. And there is a heavy integration with the industry, which means if you look at the program structure, for example, it is 18 months of building fundamentals, 12 months of paid internship in the industry, and then finally 18 months of specialization, which could be around AI machine learning or senior engineering or deeper levels of problem solving or high frequency trading. I will touch base more on that later on. But in general, building things with real world application of things as the starting point. And with including the right kind of people, focusing on holistic development. If I have to summarize, I mean, the 4 primary differentiators of this program is basically what defines a college is your curriculum, your people, your ecosystem, which is peers and who are the people that you're around with, and what's the kind of things that is being enforced every day in, day out. And finally, the placements and what people do after college. We believe we have a large differentiator on all 4. And hence, we believe that SST or Scalar School of Technology is going to disrupt or at least set a new template for bachelor's education.
Right. I remember when I was in my first, second year, right? So I used to have these professors who were very research-oriented, academic-oriented. However, they did not have experience from the industry itself. And that used to be a big, confusion in our head that are they teaching the exact thing that we will be using in the industry? So I think that is a very good point that you were talking about. But tell me more about this. Like when a student enrolls in Scalar School of Technology, what can they expect from the program? How is it structured? And how does it help people accomplish the goals that they want to?
Right. I think to answer your question, I'll maybe have to go deeper into the curriculum, because that will detail like what will they learn and then what they graduate as. So the curriculum is broken down into 3 parts, as I said, like first 18 months of fundamental building. Now, there also we typically all courses or all modules, they start with a problem statement, which basically sets context of why I'm learning what I'm learning. So for example, like in the first 18 months, somebody who's done the first 18 months should be able to code, should be able to use code to solve complex problems, which is they get good at DSA, should be able to learn computer science fundamentals deeply. And a result of that is then they should be able to build, for example, a web server that can handle, let's say, 100,000 concurrent requests. That you cannot do unless you understand memory management in depth, you understand socket programming in depth. They should be able to build an online Excel sheet, which is a very complicated problem for a front-end engineer. You're dealing with millions of these text boxes, and then you have to apply filter. You have to make sure that you're not repainting the page every single time. And when you do VLOOKUPs across sheets, then it's almost like solving a DSA problem on the front end. You have to be good with that. And finally, an outcome is that you should be able to build an e-commerce website end-to-end with microservices. That's what happens in the first 18 months, right? I've talked about the application of it. Obviously, to make sure that you're able to do this, there is a lot of theory that you'll have to learn and then apply to build this outcome. After you complete the first 18 months, then you apply for internships. We already have tie-ups with 900 odd employers. And the good news is we're only going to take 200 students. So there are more employers than the number of students.
It's very new in a country like India.
Yeah. So then you have 1-year internship where you also have assistance from a one-on-one mentor. Mentor's responsibility is not to write code for you in your internship. That is your responsibility. However, mentor's responsibility is to help you ask the right kind of questions, or at least seek out the kind of work that will create high amount of impact. Or seek active feedback from your managers, from your peers, so that you can improve and do better at the internship. Hopefully, by the end of that, you will have an offer already of a PPO from the internship. Then you return back to the campus for the last 18 months. And the last 18 months is about specializations. We broadly have 3 specializations. One is what we call as a senior engineering specialization, which is there are certain concepts in computer science, they only make sense once you have actually done work with the industry, once you have seen things break, then you start appreciating some more advanced concept in computer science. So for example, things like high-level design, system design, code design, all of those, they start to make sense once you have seen things break at larger scale. So that is the SD2 or senior engineering specialization. It has HLD, LLD, few concepts around cloud computing, and some bit of cybersecurity. Then there's another specialization, which is a AI machine learning specialization. That's to actually help you first understand the mathematics around AI and machine learning, and then finally help you build machine learning models, understand computer vision, understand natural language processing. These are the things that actually are the building blocks of something like a ChatGPT today, or a self-driving car today. And the third specialization is around something that generates a lot of money, which is algo trading or high frequency trading. If you look at like the employers with the highest amount of pay in all colleges in India, those are HFT firms. So it's a specialization exactly around that.
And why are they able to pay such high?
Because one, your work has to be perfect in a scenario like that. A small mistake could cost you millions of dollars because you're building models for trading. You make a wrong trade and suddenly you have huge amount of losses. And 2, the work also is complicated at times. It's very heavy mathematical modeling in a lot of cases. It's working on complicated algorithms in a lot of cases, and that requires to have the smartest folks working on that. Hence, I mean, we have a specialization around that as well, where like it's two parts. One is like, what should an engineer be able to do at an HFT firm? Things that are you need to be really good at. Are you really good at that or not? And the other part is also maybe some bit of knowledge, domain knowledge around equity, derivatives, stocks. How do you build some of these models, which helps you when you actually move to an HFT firm later on in your career. So those three specializations. If you look at it, I mean, by the time you graduate, you're somebody who already has 1 year of experience on their resume because you've done 1 year of internship. You've already built 3 or 4 really solid projects that most other people in the country would not have built.
You're basically a fresher on steroids.
You're a fresher on steroids. Yeah. You graduate almost as an SD too.
Right.
And I mean, a company would be stupid not to hire you.
Very interesting. So as we all know, right, picking a degree is very important for anyone, right? Having that decision that, okay, this is the best case for any person. So tell me a bit about the degree itself and how does it compare to IITs, BITS and other colleges, NITs, right? So if someone has a decision to make, taking the old school approach of going with the government institutions or even the best private colleges like BITS and others, or choosing Scalar School of Technology, how should they think about this? What should their mindset be like?
Let me first elaborate on what you get post the Scalars program, right? So when you complete the 4-year Scalar program, you basically get a bachelor's in computer science, actually BSc in computer science from BITS Pilani. You also get a master's in computer science from a European institute, which is ECTS based. It is accredited with CES, which is one of the biggest bodies accrediting educational institutes. Sort of like, think of them as UGC of the West. So you graduate with a bachelor's and a master's. You also have a fellowship or a professional certificate from Scalar. Now, some people come and ask us that, look, I mean, that is great, but why not B.Tech?
Right.
And to be honest, we started building like a B.Tech first. It's like at our scale, it is easy to actually go and register a university and build a university from scratch. However, we realized that if we have to build a differentiated program, there are certain things that we cannot do under the conventional B.Tech program.
Difference kya hota hai B.Tech, BSc mein? For anyone who's watching, they might not be know.
Yeah, so B.Tech is a 4-year program. BSc is typically a 3-year program, unless you're doing a BSc with honors, which is a 4-year program. BSc is considered to be more theoretical as compared to B.Tech. B.Tech is considered to be more applied. That being said, I mean, in practice, there isn't
hardly applied hoga.
कोई difference नहीं है. लेकिन because BSc is not considered at par with B.Tech, तो काफ़ी लोगों का ये कंसर्न होता है कि मैं BSc की डिग्री अगर करूँगा तो फिर मुझे कंपनीज कंसिडर भी करेंगे कि नहीं करेंगे. एंड दैट्स अ वेरी वैलिड कंसर्न. तो मैं पहले वो बताता हूँ कि हमने तो B.Tech से स्टार्ट किया था, राइट? लेकिन अब कुछ चीज़ें हैं जो हम कर नहीं पा रहे थे B.Tech के साथ. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, B.Tech में यू नीड टू हैव प्रोफेसर्स हु हैव PhD एंड मास्टर्स. हमें ये समझ में आया कि एक्चुअली कंप्यूटर साइंस एक ऐसी फील्ड है जो बहुत क्विकली इवॉल्व होती रहती है. एंड वन सिमिलर सच फील्ड इज मेडिकल साइंस. डॉक्टर्स के साथ भी नई नई बीमारियां आती रहती हैं, वायरसेस इवॉल्व होते रहते हैं. तो हैंस द वे मेडिकल साइंस इज टॉट इज कि यू हैव प्रैक्टिसिंग डॉक्टर्स. वो हॉस्पिटल में प्रैक्टिस करते हैं और साथ में पढ़ाते हैं. सो हैंस दे आर एबल टू टीच यू एज थिंग्स आर चेंजिंग इन द आउटसाइड वर्ल्ड. Unfortunately, in the field of computer science, for whatever reason, it's not that practitioners teach. There are people who are teaching, who are professors, and most professors, I'm not saying all professors, but most professors are very detached from reality.
Right.
तो हमें चाहिए था कि नहीं, we want practitioners to teach. People who are top software engineers in their careers, they have handled large scale of problems, they should be teaching, and we cannot do that under the purview of B.Tech. The second thing, we wanted to have 1-year internship in the program. That again we cannot do under the purview of a B.Tech. So we said कि ठीक है, B.Tech गया भाड़ में, हम बनाएंगे program which is the right thing for the learners. Hence we took the help of BSc. Same ये BSc मास्टर्स वाले से जो भी डिग्री से सॉल्व होती हैं चीज़ें, जैसे कि इमिग्रेशन में जब आप अप्लाई करते हो वर्क वीज़ा के लिए तो आपको डिग्री चाहिए होती है, या फिर आप गवर्नमेंट एग्जाम्स में अप्लाई करोगे, आप कैट के लिए अप्लाई करोगे, GRE के लिए अप्लाई करोगे, GMAT के लिए अप्लाई करोगे. इन डिग्री से सारी चीज़ें सॉल्व हो जाती हैं. इनफैक्ट इमिग्रेशन में आपको ज़्यादा पॉइंट्स मिलते हैं बिकॉज आपके पास मास्टर्स हैं. So some certain countries give you additional points if you have masters, right? So in this case you get more points. However, जो कंपनी वाला जो कंसर्न है उस पे मतलब if you take a step back and ask any technical recruiter कि आपके पास 2 रेज्यूमेस हैं. एक रेज्यूमे B.Tech है, दूसरा रेज्यूमे है BSc है, बट 1 साल की इंटर्नशिप कर रखी है
और मास्टर्स भी है
एंड 4-5 बड़े बड़े प्रोजेक्ट्स हैं. तो which resume are you going to select? And the choice becomes very clear that this is a significantly stronger resume than this person. So we said then it doesn't matter. I mean, the real world is going to care about skills. And वो BSc है, B.Tech है, कोई फर्क ही नहीं पड़ता. आप प्रोग्राम को ऐसे बनाओ जिससे कि skills उभर के आ जाए, and that's what we have hence focused on.
What type of opportunities can a student expect, right, once they graduate from the program, in your experience?
Yeah, I mean, so one thing is a lot of students might actually get a conversion right after the internship, because typically what happens is when you do a long-term internship with a company, if you've done a good job, they give you a pre-placement offer. So you can then join the same company once your program is over if you want to. Otherwise as well, if you see, companies hire based on how capable you are. Now, if there is a person who has decent bit of experience already, and in terms of knowledge, proficiency level, they are superior to the other graduates, then in a way, you're competing for the cream of the companies that are going to compete and try to hire you, right? For example, one of the reasons for having the HFT specialization was because we want to become the preferred institute where HFT firms come and hire from. These are the firms that we pay actually far higher than the remaining companies.
Multi-crore packages.
Yeah, multi-crore. So Jane Street, for example, right? That's a HFT firm. Or I mean, your FANG kind of companies. So your Google and Facebook and Microsoft and Amazon, they heavily index on your problem-solving skill, your DSA skills, which has been built right from the first year.
That is also a very interesting thing, that in the first year itself you start focusing on the CS fundamentals. हमारे time में तो
मैंने
learning about biology and chemistry and everything.
मैंने 2 कोर्सेज किए थे फिजिक्स के, मैंने 2 कोर्सेज किए थे इलेक्ट्रिकल के, मैंने 5 कोर्सेज किए थे इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स के. इनफैक्ट हमारा कॉलेज बेटर कॉलेज हुआ करता था बिकॉज हमारे बायोलॉजी का कोर्स नहीं था, केमिस्ट्री का कोर्स नहीं था.
अरे वाह.
लेकिन बाकी कॉलेजेस में जो मेरे पीयर्स थे उन्होंने बायो का भी कोर्स किया है, केमिस्ट्री का भी कोर्स किया है, उन्होंने वेल्डिंग वाले कोर्सेज भी किए हैं.
I remember I used to do that as well.
There used to be this engineering design course where you had to like बड़े से चार्ट पे कुछ ड्राइंग्स बनाने,
AutoCAD पे जाके कुछ बना रहे हैं and all that.
Right, तो ये सब हमने नहीं किया था. And like to be honest, like this SST curriculum is even more focused. You don't even have to do the electrical and electronic courses unless there are relevant portions from that courses that are CS relevant. Those are covered as part of the curriculum. So super focused right from the year 1. So FANG gets opened up, HFT firms get opened up. In general, in terms of capability, anybody who graduates would have the same capability as a senior engineer. Now, that might or might not translate to you getting hired as an SD2 immediately. But what that does is that it speeds up your process of moving up the ladder in the company. तो आपका promotion जल्दी हो जाएगा, correct जल्दी कर दिया जाएगा salary को. And that's the bet, right? Like if you want your talent to be heavily differentiated. People should say कि people who come from this place, they stand out when it comes to abilities as compared to other people.
Anshuman, let's talk about the numbers, the headlines that they garner all the time. Tell me about the numbers. Obviously, this is the first time that the program is launching, but what sort of numbers can people expect from the placements and all?
What we believe is that when you compare us to any premium institute, I mean, I'm confident that we'll do much better than them when it comes to placements. But today I cannot claim that because we haven't graduated a batch yet. So what I can do is I can talk about what has happened with the 1-year program at Scale-Up, where there is far lesser amount of time commitment. So that is a part-time program. लोग हफ्ते में 3 बार क्लास करते हैं 2-2.5 घंटे की, right? So that versus like doing the same in a day in a bachelor's. In that program, today our highest salary has been about 3.5 CR. Our average salary has been about 21 lakhs. And the one thing that has happened, which has not happened with any online institute in the world, is that the top companies like Amazon, Microsoft, Google, they've hired in bulk from Scalar. For example, there was this 1 year where Amazon hired more people from Scalar than all IITs combined.
Crazy.
So that is what we have done in the past with a program where we had far lesser amount of time. Now imagine if we have almost 20 times more amount of time with a person. There's a lot more that we can do with a person.
Sure. So, you know, one question people always have is that ठीक है पढ़ाई लिखाई तो कर ली हमने, but उसके अलावा क्या है? What is the campus life, right? Because I remember when I was in my 12th grade, the attracting factor for all of us that was sold by the coaching centers was that cultural fest बहुत अच्छे होते हैं, ये होता है, वो होता है. So what is the campus life going to look like for someone who's enrolling for this program?
Right. Actually, हमारे curriculum के 3 parts हैं. एक तो हार्ड स्किल करिकुलम जो मैं भी डिफाइन कर रहा था आपके सामने. देयर इज ऑल्सो अ सॉफ्ट स्किल करिकुलम विच इज फॉर योर ओवरऑल डेवलपमेंट विच मे बी वी कैन डिस्कस लेटर. बट व्हाट यू आर रेफरिंग टू इज आवर सोशल करिकुलम. तो आवर क्लासेस हैपन ऑन 5 days, Monday to Friday. Saturday and Sunday is dedicated to all club related activities. Now clubs could be technical as well as cultural. For example, technical clubs could be coding related, blockchain related, etc., which people form out of their own interest. And then there are cultural related, which you could have a music club, you could have literary club, etc., which again student drive based on their interest. There is also going to be an annual fest, which we are hoping is going to be a mega scale event. Given it's not just for Scalar School of Technologies, we are also going to do that for Scalar as well.
Right.
That being said, we don't talk about it a lot. Reason being that we don't believe that that is what differentiates us from the remaining colleges. The differentiating factors are others. But we do understand that, look, you cannot compromise on the cultural and the life aspects at a campus.
Overall growth is important.
Overall growth is very, very important. These are the 4 years which basically shapes a human being. So while hard skills are important, your softer aspects and your social aspects are equally important. Otherwise, you end up creating a one-dimensional human being, which is not great for their future.
So Anshuman, as you were talking about the all-round development of a student, tell me a bit more about the soft skills part. Like, how do you focus on that, and how do you make sure that everyone is able to express themselves, whatever that they are thinking, right? Because I think this is the most important part. Whenever my fourth year students मिलता था, first year में, तो they were the most shy people to come out, right? Induction clubs में हमेशा they were the leaders. Coddies जो होते हैं, right? They were always like कि नहीं बात नहीं कर पाते ठीक से and all. मतलब ये क्यों हो रहा है? So how do you fix that?
Right. When we think about overall development, actually, it's about your communication skills, your articulation skills. I think it's also about like whether are you able to understand product and business very well or not. And that, to be honest, is zero in graduating engineers from our colleges, most colleges. वो कैसे आप बनाते हो? और दूसरा एक जो life को भी लेके जो perspective होता है. For example, in some of our colleges, suicide rates are very high. People give up because of the pressure that you have, right? So do they have supporting ecosystem or not? All of those are important elements. मैं थोड़ा elaborate करता हूँ कैसे कर रहे हैं हम लोग. So one is like मैंने बताया कि एक part of curriculum जो कि soft skill curriculum है, उसमें maybe I can take an example. For example, हमारा trimester 4 और 5 में एक course है which is on building business and problem solving skills, and that format is borrowed from the case study format that happens in Harvard Business School. So the format is कि you're given a business case study, you have 24 hours to prepare before the class. The entire class is broken down into groups of 3, and class के time पे there are random groups that are called to present their solution to the case study, and then the professor cross questions, the peer cross question, and once you do that a lot of times yourself, तो फिर आपके अंदर धीरे धीरे वो ability build होने लगती है because of practice, and because you're going to be called out randomly, and that is going to decide your grade. Hence, you're serious about every
impromptu skills बढ़ जाएंगी.
Obviously, before that, we also do English, communication, articulation, the STAR methodology, etc. वो सब होता है उसके पहले before you get to the case study part, so that you're already good at presenting. तो एक part तो वो हो गया. दूसरा ये कि आपको गाइडेंस कैसे मिल रहा है, कल्चर कैसा सेट हो रहा है कॉलेज में, वो भी बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. बिकॉज कॉलेज में कल्चर 2 तरीके से सेट होते हैं. एक तो एकदम डाउनवर्ड हिल पे चला जाता है कि देन पीपल ओनली थिंक अबाउट कि चीट कैसे करना है, असाइनमेंट कहीं जाके खरीद लेते हैं. सो दैट शुडंट हैपन. So hence what we do is कि with a student there are 3 people helping them build their thought process. One is every student has a one-on-one personal mentor. This mentor is somebody who is already working at a position that you would want to go and work at. For example, let's say Google में कोई काम करता है as an engineer. Now if this person is my mentor, this person is guiding me on a one-on-one basis. So think of them as an elder bhaiya or didi that I'm in connect with, and they spend time with me. तो वन इज दे गाइड मी ऑन अ रेगुलर बेसिस कि कौन से कोर्सेज करने चाहिए, कौन से कोर्सेज नहीं करने चाहिए, व्हाट आर द थिंग्स दैट यू शुड ऑल्सो डू आउटसाइड ऑफ द करिकुलम इन केस दैट इज रिक्वायर्ड. तो दे गाइड ऑन दैट एस्पेक्ट. इन फैक्ट दे ऑल्सो हेल्प ड्यूरिंग द इंटर्नशिप टू कन्वर्ट द इंटर्नशिप. द सेकेंड पर्सन दैट यू वर्क विथ is a super mentor. These are leaders in the industry. So think of, for example, we have Apurv Dalal, who was the ex-head of engineering in Google, then Uber Bangalore engineering head, then Twitter engineering head. So he is one of the super mentors. Or people like Kunal Shah, who is the founder of Cred, he is a super mentor. People like Prasanna, who is the co-founder of Rippling, which is a multi-billion-dollar company in US, he's a person. Vijay Shekhar Sharma, who is the founder of Paytm. So people like those are super mentors. They would come, I mean, at least one super mentor is going to come to the campus once a quarter, and they are going to spend time talking about the challenges that they have faced in their careers. What is the kind of problem statements you solve in real world? And then spend time answering questions from students so that they learn from the experiences of the leaders in the industry. So that's the second person. And finally, the third person who actually lives with you in the campus is somebody we call as a batch success manager. This is again somebody who is a professional as an engineer. Their job is to adopt 50 odd students at a time. Make sure that when they are doing their assignment, they have the right kind of support. Which means if you get stuck, then they are there to help explain how to get unstuck. And they live in the hostel so that the right kind of culture is being built inside the hostel. People are not thinking about taking shortcuts or assignment kaise khareed le, but rather thinking about what are the new ideas that I should be exploring. How can you use tech as a weapon or a tool to get more done? So combination of those two, right? One is curriculum and two, people around you. Right. That is going to solve for the overall development of a student.
Makes sense. And now for the question that everyone wants to know the answer of. Attendance policy क्या है आप?
कुछ courses हैं जहाँ पे attendance mandatory है. For example, जो मैंने भी case study वाला course explain किया था, उसमें अगर लोग ही नहीं आएंगे तो फिर present कैसे करवाओगे आप? तो इसलिए attendance is mandatory there. However, there are other courses where the attendance might not be mandatory. Live attendance might not be mandatory. What that means is कि जितनी भी classes होती हैं, they're also all recorded and available on your dashboard. Along with every class, there is assignment. वो class देखना and assignment करना is important because आपको जो eventually grade मिलेगा वो उसी का function है. So instead of the regular format जहाँ पे एक दिन एकदम से एक exam होता है और exam अच्छा नहीं गया तो grade बेकार हो जाएगा. The format here is that there is continuous grading, which means every single day there's a class, every class has an assignment. How you perform in those assignments is eventually going to decide your grade. How you perform in, let's say, monthly contests, combination of that is going to decide your grade. One single exam is not going to decide your grade.
Right. You talked about all the pros of the program. One question that I will see everyone in the comment section is going to be about the fees.
Yeah.
Right? It sounds so good, but how much is the fees? So tell me a bit about that as well.
Right. So the cumulative fees, academic fees, actually per year it is roughly around 3.5 lakhs if I'm not wrong. And we have financing options also available. So in case, let's say 3.5 lakhs is a very large amount for you, we have tie-ups with banks that can give you loans so that you can pay it in the form of an EMI. Apart from that, we also believe that it is important to make the program affordable for people. So if there is somebody who comes from an economically weaker background or if they qualify in some of our categories, then there are also scholarships that can pay for 20 to 100% of your fees. So we are going to have some people who would probably not pay any fees because they have 100% scholarship. And to help with those scholarships, some of the super mentors that I had mentioned, they are the ones who are pulling in money to sponsor these kids.
Oh, wow.
In a way, that's good for them because you have sponsors who would be vested in your success. And these people come from the industry. These are not random people. These are leaders from the industry who are sponsoring your education. So net 3.5 lakhs per year as the fees.
One question that people would be thinking is that Scalar is a startup. एंड अगर आप लोग चले गए तो फिर क्या होगा डिग्री का, राइट? उसकी वैल्यू रहेगी नहीं रहेगी? 4 साल के लिए हम हैं, अगर आप चले गए तो फिर उसमें क्या होगा? तो व्हाट डू यू थिंक अबाउट दैट?
लेट मी स्टार्ट बाय सेइंग टू थिंग्स, राइट? वन इज डिग्री तो कैसे भी रहेगी, बट मतलब ऐसा नहीं कि हम छोड़ के जाने वाले. लेट मी एक्सप्लेन व्हाई आई से सो, राइट? तो स्केलर इज टुडे अ 6,000 crore company. So it's not like we've just started. We've been 4 years in this business, and actually our other intake, which is for an online 1-year program for Scalar, that today enrolls anywhere from 25 to 30,000 people a year. So the scale of undergraduate program is much, much smaller. It's actually much easier for us to keep running it for years and years to come. And in that program, as I said before, right, like we've already produced massive amount of outcomes. We have the highest completion rates in the world probably. We have probably one of the highest placement rates in that program. Some of the top companies, they hire in bulk from that program. And because of that, you'll see that like some of the people who have also funded us, they are some of the legendary companies, right? These are the same people who had funded Google in its early days or Apple in its early days, which are now like $1 trillion companies. We have a very, very strong team as well. I come from Facebook. The person who leads the UG program, Bhavik, he was one of the first people to build or like launch Uber in India and also launch Uber Eats after that. My co-founder, Abhimanyu, he was one of the very early engineers at the fastest unicorn in the world. Unicorn is a company which has $1 billion in valuation. The person who actually leads, one of the person who leads the machine learning programs, he was the one who had built the Amazon ads machine learning teams worldwide in the US, in India, in South America. So the kind of people who work here are also probably one of the strongest people in this domain who are helping create some of these programs. And because of that, Some of the strongest people in our Indian ecosystem, they have lended their name to be associated with us. For example, as I said, like Kunal Shah, Ishan Sharma, Prasanna, Apurv Dalal, Rajan, he was the ex-MD of Google India. Before that, he was the MD of Microsoft India.
Right.
A lot of those people, they have associated with us. They wouldn't if there was a risk of us shutting down and going anywhere, because it is also their personal brand at risk.
Absolutely.
And just to top it off, like even some of the top officials at government also share our opinion. I'll request you to play a clip from Mr. Amitabh Kant, who is the ex-CEO of Niti Aayog. He was speaking at a conference where he mentions like how our curriculums are outdated. And he also happens to mention Scalar. So we also have trust from the government in some ways on what we are doing today and what we plan to do in the future.
Amazing. Last question people would have is that how can they learn more about the program? How can they apply for it? For the students, for their parents, how can they get started?
Right. I mean, let me first talk about the eligibility, right?
Yes.
One is you're eligible if you have completed your class 12th in 2021, 2022 or 2023. It is not important for you to be from a particular branch. I mean, you could have taken maths, you could not have taken maths. That's all fine. However, you have to clear an exam. Now, some people come and ask me like, why can you consider my JEE score to consider me for the admission? And like, we currently don't. The reason for that is that JEE focuses on physics, chemistry and maths. We believe that physics and chemistry need not have a very high correlation with how you would go and do in computer science. And hence, just because you didn't do well there shouldn't disqualify you. Just because you did very well there shouldn't also qualify you.
Right.
So hence we do a different exam. It's called NCET exam. It happens once a month. And it broadly has 4 sections. One on English, because we are going to be teaching in English. We have different people from different backgrounds come there. So not everybody might understand Hindi. Hence we teach in English, and hence English is important. The second part is mathematics, where the topics are probability, conditional probability, statistics, and combinatorics. If you have done maths seriously till class 10th, then you'll do well on the exam. The third section is called the learnability test, where we teach a new concept on the spot in the paper. And then we ask you questions on top of that. You can't prepare for it. It's just basically how you learn.
That's very interesting.
And finally, you have a aptitude and logical reasoning section. This is like your conventional aptitude and logical reasoning, just testing for how smart you are. So less focus on knowledge, more focus on your inherent abilities, which increases your probability of success in the program. If you do well on that, which is if you clear the cutoff in every section, then there is an interview.
How much is the cutoff?
So the cutoff is going to be roughly around 30 to 35 out of 100. So 30 to 35% out of 100 is the cutoff. If you do well, then there is an interview that we schedule with you. In the personal interview, we discuss some of the same aspects that were there in the paper. Plus, we also check for what you aspire to do in life. How ambitious are you? And we also ask some questions that our sponsors want to ask you, because they want to look at all of your interviews and select who they want to sponsor. So we do some of that. We share those recordings with our sponsors. And finally, in some time, we come back with our answer of whether we're accepting you in SST along with the scholarship offer in case, let's say, a sponsor sponsored you. So yeah, that's the process.
Very interesting. Thank you so much for joining me here. Guys, if you want to learn more about it, check the link in the description for Scalar School of Technology. Thank you so much for taking all the time and sharing the experiences of studying at SST and what they can expect from it. And I hope to connect with you soon.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ishan, for hosting me. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thanks a lot.
All right, that was the video. If you're in 12th grade and you are interested to learn more about SST, check out the link in the description. If you're not, then you can share the link to anyone that you see could benefit from it as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.